The city was alive that night. Neon lights flickered over sidewalks, cars honked impatiently at intersections, and people hurried along the streets, chasing deadlines and late-night dinners. In the middle of it all, a small family-owned restaurant glowed warmly against the chaos, a place where locals came for comfort food and friendly smiles. Inside, the clatter of dishes and hum of conversation filled the air. At one corner, a radio softly played old tunes while waiters darted between tables balancing trays heavy with burgers, pasta, and milkshakes. And among them was a young waitress, her steps slower than the rest, her hands trembling ever so slightly. Her name was Clara. At just 26 years old, she should have been brimming with energy and excitement about the future. But tonight she carried more than plates, she carried the weight of heartbreak, exhaustion, and the tiny life growing inside her. Her apron stretched slightly over her rounded belly, and though she tried to hide her fatigue with polite smiles, anyone looking closely could see she was struggling. Friends, before I continue Clara's story, I want to ask you something. Thought balloon. If you believe that no one, especially a pregnant woman, should have to struggle alone, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and drop a comment below with the words "Kindness Matters." Cherry Blossom, it may seem small, but your support helps spread these stories and reminds the world that compassion is still alive. Now back to Clara. Just 2 years ago, Clara's life had looked so different. She had been happily married to a man named Arthur Leblew. He was charming, ambitious, and promised her a beautiful future filled with love and security. When Clara found out she was pregnant, she imagined raising their baby together, building the family she had always dreamed of. But everything changed the day Arthur asked for a divorce. Cold, detached, he admitted he had been seeing another woman, a younger, glamorous mistress. And worse, he chose to leave Clara right when she needed him most. She was 4 months pregnant, terrified, and alone. With no one to lean on, Clara picked herself up and found work at the small restaurant. The pay was modest, but it covered rent and doctor's visits. Still, the long hours and the physical demands of serving tables while carrying a child drained her spirit. She smiled for customers, but inside she felt abandoned and invisible. That evening, Clara served a rowdy group of businessmen at a booth near the window. They laughed loudly, ordered impatiently, and treated her like she was nothing more than background noise. When one of them noticed her swollen belly, he scoffed, "Should you even be working in your condition? Don't drop the tray on us, sweetheart." The table erupted in laughter. Clara forced a small smile and set down their food without a word. She had grown used to comments like these, but each one was another stone on her already heavy heart. As the night went on, Clara's back ached and her feet throbbed. She clutched her notepad, trying to stay focused, but her vision blurred from fatigue. At one point, she leaned against the counter just to steady herself. And then it happened. She slipped on a small patch of water near the kitchen door. Plates clattered to the floor, food splattering everywhere. Gasps filled the room, followed by a cruel chuckle from the businessman's table. "See? I told you she couldn't handle it," one of them said. Clara's cheeks burned with humiliation. She bent down slowly to clean the mess, her stomach tightening uncomfortably. Friends, if your heart aches for Clara right now, type "Stay strong, Clara" in the comments. It may seem like just words, but words carry power, and your kindness in the comments can inspire someone going through the same silent battles. As Clara gathered the broken pieces, a gentle voice cut through the noise. "Let me help you." She looked up and saw a man in his 40s kneeling beside her. He wore a crisp suit, but his eyes were kind and steady. Without hesitation, he picked up the larger shards of glass, ignoring the puzzled stares from the other diners. Together they cleaned the mess, and when Clara muttered a tearful "thank you," he gave her a reassuring smile. But the kindness didn't stop there. When the meal was over, the man called Clara to his table. She braced herself, expecting criticism or a complaint. Instead, he said softly, "I couldn't help but notice how hard you're working tonight. And I can see you're carrying something even heavier than those trays." He glanced at her stomach, then back into her weary eyes. "You shouldn't have to do this alone." He pulled out his wallet and tucked something into the check folder. Clara thought it was just a generous tip, but when she opened it, her breath caught. Inside was a check with enough money to cover months of rent and prenatal care. Alongside it was a handwritten note. "Use this for you and your baby. No mother should ever feel abandoned. May kindness carry you through." Clara's hands trembled as tears spilled freely down her cheeks. She tried to protest, but the man only shook his head. "Don't thank me," he said. "One day when you're able, pass it on to someone else who needs it." Word spread quickly around the restaurant. The same customers who had laughed at her earlier fell silent, ashamed. Other diners began to clap, some even wiping away tears. For the first time in months, Clara felt seen, not as a burden, not as a mistake, but as a human being worthy of love and compassion. Friends, if this moment touched your heart, please pause for a second and hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, have you ever witnessed an act of kindness so powerful that it left you speechless? Your stories might inspire someone else watching today. That night, Clara walked home under the glow of street lights, clutching the note close to her heart. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel hopeless. She felt hopeful. Someone believed in her. Someone reminded her that she wasn't invisible. In the months that followed, Clara used the stranger's gift wisely. She took time off when the pregnancy became too difficult, focusing on her health and preparing for her baby's arrival. And when her daughter was born, tiny, beautiful, and perfect, Clara whispered a promise. A promise to raise her child not only with love but also with the same kindness that had saved her on that difficult night. So, friends, what do we learn from Clara's story? Kindness doesn't always look grand. Sometimes it's a stranger kneeling down to help pick up broken dishes. Sometimes it's giving when others expect you to turn away. But every act of kindness has the power to change a life forever. And now I want to ask you one last thing. If you believe the world needs more stories like Clara's, stories that remind us to care, to give, and to see each other, please subscribe to our channel, Kindness Stories. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next reminder that compassion is still alive. And before you go, write this phrase in the comments. Kindness carries us through. Because it does.